I don't like Animal Crossing. Every time I try to give the series another shot, I leave feeling frustrated by the game's bizarre systems and bored by its tiresome gameplay loop. I've put a lot of thought into why the game fails to engage me as a player, and I believe I have found the fundamental issue that prevents Animal Crossing from reaching its full potential. Animal Crossing was born from the idea of moving into a new town and beginning a life from scratch. It was about carving out one's place in the world and growing attached to a virtual community. But over time, the games began to shift away from these life simulation elements in favor of customization, and how players decorate the world around them to their liking. I do think that players need some degree of customization in order to properly roleplay as their character, but with New Horizons, this newfound focus has drifted so drastically that the game is now closer to a sandbox experience rather than a life simulation. The game world of New Horizons is little more than a set piece. Everything from the clothes you wear, the structures you build, the objects you display, the trees and flowers you plant. Heck, even the villagers exist mainly to look pretty in your diorama of a town. There's a big issue with this new direction, however. Sandbox games are only enjoyable if I am given the proper tools to quickly and conveniently realize my creative visions, and Animal Crossing New Horizons simply takes too long to provide my desired customization options, leaving a lot to be desired. The game would rather have me do ludicrous amounts of fishing, digging, bug catching, and collecting in order to accumulate the funds necessary for my creative endeavors. These simplistic and repetitive activities make up the majority of playtime and are practically required to access all the fancy new toys, and this gameplay loop works wonders to kill the flow of creativity. The game fails not only as a sandbox experience, but also as a life simulation. When every facet of the game world can be manipulated to your liking, it begins to stop feeling like a real environment, ruining the immersion that life sims need to foster that sense of escapism. Animal Crossing's unlockables reward specific actions and ways to play, discouraging players from acting out of their own self-interest. If you don't sell expensive items, earn Nook miles, or gather materials, you are not progressing toward the decorative options which make the game more fun to play. In a life sim, players should want to do an activity because they enjoy it, not because the game pressures them to. It's shocking to me that all these years later I am still expected to participate in the same puny handful of activities, and this lack of recreational pastimes is the primary reason why I have never been able to engage with Animal Crossing as a life sim, because the sense of escapism I expect from this genre is so underdeveloped and short-lived. This dichotomy is only part of the issue. At first I was totally on board with the crafting system, but the way it was implemented mostly just adds unnecessary steps to the process of obtaining what I desire. First, you need to have the right recipes which the game decides when to supply you with. Then you need to constantly upkeep your tools since they always break. And on top of that, there is an upgrade system which makes equipment more effective. The game also has the Nook Miles program, providing an alternate form of currency to purchase special items, and it also serves as a sort of checklist or achievements menu. Admittedly, this does encourage doing a variety of activities, but these tasks are still unenjoyable because they lack mechanical depth and ultimately just delay my ability to participate in the customization I would rather be doing. There's an unusually large emphasis placed on collecting things, whether for the museum, the numerous catalogs, or simply for decoration. Taking all of this together, the high customization, the crafting and upgrade systems, the collectathon aspect, and the achievement-style Nook Miles program, it's almost as if the developers threw a bunch of popular mechanics and systems into the same game without considering how well they play off each other. And no, they are not all complementary. The overly generous decoration options of the environment cheapen the idea of a realistic, independent game world, which I believe is essential to create an immersive life sim. The crafting and upgrade system mimics that of a survival game. but because the player is never in any sort of danger should they fail to do so, the need to constantly rebuild tools is simply an annoyance. The Nook Miles program prioritizes specific activities at certain times, which flies in the face of having a purely self-driven adventure. And sometimes the game will ask you to manage your island in a way that contradicts how you would have it look, which goes against the freedom of expression that sandbox games typically capitalize on. With so many contrasting design elements, the series desperately needs to take a step back and decide what type of game it is. If the point is to design and grow my own Animal Crossing town, then the game needs to quit wasting my time with mindless busywork in order for me to obtain what I need, and provide convenient options for town customization. If the point is to enjoy pretend living in a virtual community, then there needs to be a lot more activities to take part in, and the game world needs to behave more like a real interactive environment rather than a prop. Players should be motivated to keep playing simply because they enjoy existing in that space. As it now stands, I can't enjoy the game as any one thing because it doesn't fully commit to any one idea. New Horizons incentivizes beautifying your town so heavily that the series' life simulation elements have become little more than a hindrance to progression and creativity. I think Nintendo has innovated in the wrong areas and needlessly complicated the formula, anxious to implement new features without fully realizing the original appeal or understanding the genre it's emulating. I've tried so many times to lose myself in the world of Animal Crossing, but my play sessions can only go so far before I encounter a myriad of shortcomings and obstacles that prevent any kind of a consistently enjoyable experience. And considering the series' current trajectory after the success of New Horizons, it's hard to imagine that changing anytime soon. Believe me, I've spent a lot of time dreaming about what Animal Crossing could become, but I'll spare you my pitch for my ideal game this time. In all honesty, I don't care what direction Animal Crossing takes so long as it's consistent and focused. I see potential for an incredible sandbox game or life simulation game, but with all the imperfections and questionable design of New Horizons, I think it's time for the Animal Crossing series to make a hard choice, because only then will I feel confident in giving it another shot.